Welcome to today's episode. This is a little bit of a verbal diary entry, I feel, today, because I've got a lot of things that I'm thinking about at the moment. And I was like, why don't I just create a podcast episode and share them with you? Because I don't know, maybe you can relate, maybe you can gain something from what I'm sharing with you, maybe even you have some suggestions for me, who knows? But essentially, I've been watching a lot of YouTube content recently. I love YouTube, by the way. I'm not really a big TV girl. Like, I don't really watch a lot of television normally, but I do watch a lot of YouTube. And I think I watch it because for me, I can pick and choose the content that appeals to me. I have a few favorite content creators that I love to follow. And I feel like I can educate myself and fill my mind with good things rather than filling it with weeds. Because when you watch television, you are not in control of what they show. And even through streaming sites, you do not control the content. Like, you can choose what you want to watch. Yes, to a degree, but it's not necessarily going to be educating you in the same way that a YouTube video might. So I've been watching a lot of content and I watched something from an accountant the other day. Now, she has this huge YouTube channel, like over 1 million subscribers, and she talks about lifestyle tips, but she always comes at it from a money perspective. And she mentioned something that I had never heard of before, which I think might change the game for me for the rest of this year. Now, we are already at the midway point of 2025. I did an episode last week all about this and how important it is to do a kind of check-in at this point and see where you're going for the rest of this year and what you've achieved so far. So if you didn't listen to last week's episode, go and listen to that, because I'm very open in terms of my achievements and my focus for the rest of this year in that episode. But she was saying that essentially you should have a fund specifically for your goal or objective. So you need to select a goal or objective or focus that you're going to have for that year or half a year if you decide to start like I am at this point. And it could be work or money related. It could be something to do with your health and wellness. It could be a passion project that you have. It doesn't matter what it is, but you need to select just one focus, one objective that you're going to concentrate on for whether it's 6 months or 12 months. And you need to start allocating a proportion of your salary that you receive every month or income, depending on your circumstances, towards that particular project. And I really loved the sound of this because it's not a savings fund. So you don't put money into this pot and let it build. Your goal every month is to spend exactly what is inside that pot by the end of the month. And you have to spend it on your goal. And I love this because too many of us will be like, okay, I'll put the money there, I'll let it build. And then either you stop saving in the end because you don't have the motivation to continue because you're not seeing any real results of the money that you're saving for that particular goal, or you just allow the money to accumulate and stop taking action until you think that you have the correct amount of money that you need. What this technique is making you do is to take physical action towards your goals and to make sure that you are spending that money, however much it is that you have allocated, on your project or on your goal in that month. Now, I love this idea because it's making you take action, and I'm all about taking action towards goals and dreams. It's the only way that you can really create the life that you really want for yourself. And so I'm going to start doing this for the rest of 2025. I'm going to create a pot towards my objective, and I am going to make sure that every month I spend the money that I allocate into that pot on my goal, be that a course, be that a piece of equipment or something that I need to buy that's going to help me with that particular focus. But I'm going to do that for the rest of this year. And I will let you know in December how that has helped me to progress with what it is that I want to focus on. Because I do think sometimes that goals and objectives can be very difficult to concentrate on, particularly at this point as well, which is why I do think a mid-year check-in is vital, because at this point you've usually lost momentum from what what you had at the very beginning part of the year. And so, it's important to have this where you've got this motivation to spend this money on something that is going to help you to achieve your goals. So for me, I was like, this is so refreshing. So it's something that I'm going to be doing, definitely. And it ties back into my word of this year, which is evolve. And I think as well, side note, it's really important to have a word of the year because it really ties everything together and it helps you to focus on the things that are important. Because you see, for me, I have been all too aware that this year I've wanted to change, up level, evolve as many different aspects of my life as possible. And we've already done a lot of that in the first 6 months of this year. But I feel there is still more to go, especially as we move into the latter part of this year. And especially so when it comes to my branding and what I do and my content that I produce. Because I watched another video on YouTube, which was talking about evolution actually of YouTube channels and how it's only natural that at some point on your journey, you're going to need to change the content that you produce. You cannot stay the same forever. And I find that, maybe I am at that point now because I love talking about life in South Italy in particular and also sharing the reality, so not the fantasy, so to help people who want to move here. Now, I changed the focus a year ago to specifically catering for people who want to live in this country because I realized before my content was very mixed. I was catering towards tourists as well as people who wanted to live here. And, those groups of people are interested in very different things. So I changed focus and decided to focus specifically on what was really like within my zone of genius, if you like. Like, I live here, I'm going through these experiences, I can share them with other people and hopefully help them as well. So I felt I got a bit clearer in the past year. But recently I've been thinking that, it would be really interesting to incorporate some other interests into my channel. So, expanding out, I'm really big on personal development and mindset and growth. And I'm also really big on reading and business. Like, these are real passions of mine. And I want to arrive at a place where my brand can hold more than one topic that I talk about because I fear otherwise that I'm going to box myself very much into a particular niche and it's going to be very difficult for me to expand or to talk about other things or to, I don't know, launch services and products in the future when my audience is so focused on one particular aspect. So I'm kind of in this weird place at the moment where I'm like, how do I evolve my brand? But it's also an exciting place to be in as well, because I've worked so hard over the past 4 years to grow my audience on YouTube and also to kind of arrive at the point where I am today, where I feel like I have a real sense of community. So I want to be careful that I don't kind of damage what I've created. But I also think that evolution is healthy. We all change as people, right? You might find at certain points in your life that you change the people that you follow on social media. You unsubscribe from certain newsletters because they no longer interest you in the way that they once did. This is very normal human behavior. And so this is the way that I want to view this process. Evolution is a wonderful thing. And as it is my focus of this year, it's only right that I kind of apply this to all aspects of my life. And it ties back into what I've always said about change. Change is nothing to be scared of. Too many people allow themselves to stay stuck and paralyzed because they do not know what is on the other side of change. But I promise you, it's always something better than where you are right now. And it's this. And so this is kind of how I'm feeling at the moment. I'm really thinking about what I want to achieve in the next 6 months of this year. I'm doing things a little bit differently, even though, and I have this strange aspect of myself where I like to do things a particular way. And sometimes I think if I start to do them a different way, it's going to bring me some kind of bad luck. I don't know. I swear this is some kind of like obsessive disorder. I'm not sure, but I really do find sometimes that, like, for example, objects, I'm really particular about the placement of certain objects. So, for example, I have a laughing Buddha. It was my granddad's laughing Buddha. And I remember when I was a child, I used to go to my grandparents' home and it was the one thing that I always used to watch. And my granddad was like, you've got to rub its stomach every day, it brings you luck. And every time that I went to their home, that's exactly what I would do. Now, when my granddad died, I inherited this Buddha because it was something I really wanted. And I absolutely love it. And, in my old home, I had it opposite my desk in my studio. And, it wasn't the best place for the Buddha. It was on top of a shoe rack. I've been learning a lot about placement of Buddhas, and that's not really a very respectful place. Maybe that's why we struggled so much in Palermo. Who knows? But since moving to our new home, I've had it in the windowsill of my office. But I was like, I want to change things up a little bit. But there's always a part of me that's like, oh my goodness, if you change the position of this Buddha, it's going to create chaos. But it's not true, because I've now got it in the southeast facing corner of my office on my desk, which is actually, according to Feng Shui, the abundance corner, and is one of the best places to place Laughing Buddha. And it's sitting here looking at me now as I'm talking to you. So as much as things like this can sometimes make you feel uncomfortable, even though it sounds completely irrational, I do think that there is goodness in change. And I think sometimes we hold ourselves back because we think, okay, I've got to keep doing the same thing. Can't alter the routine, can't do things differently because I've always done it this way. And if I change it, maybe things will go wrong, or I'll get bad luck, or whatever it may be if you're a superstitious person. But I actually think it's important to change. And even something as simple as this, like moving the position of a Laughing Buddha, is something symbolic for me personally, because I am so particular about where objects sit. But it's this, like, you've got to evolve, you've got to change, you've got to try new things. This is what life is all about. And I want to thank you for listening this far if you have, because this is like a bit of therapy for me today. Thank you for listening and being part of it. But sometimes I think it's good to kind of be very reflective about where you're at in your life at any given time and change the focus, switch things up and do things differently. I will see you in the next episode.